Welcome to lecture 25 of the course CS213 Object Oriented Programming of the Kuwait University of Science and Technology. In this lecture we will discuss the strings. We will focus on an introduction to the string class and the string operations. We may also discuss string builder or string buffer classes, and regular expressions may be in the upcoming lectures. The relevant material for this lecture can be found in chapter 14 of the recommended book Java How to Program, Early Objects Version Detail and Detail. You can also find the details of the strings class or the string operations on the given link in the tutorial. The string class. An object of the string class represents a string of characters. The string class belongs to the java.lang package, which does not require an import statement. It is imported by default. We have been using objects of the string class in our programs thus far, but in this lecture we will go into detail of the string class and what other methods are available at our disposal to work with the objects of the string class. Like other classes, string has constructors and methods. Unlike other classes, string has two operators, plus and plus are equal to, which are used for concatenation. Literal strings, for example, are anonymous objects of the string class. So it can be anything enclosed between these two double quotes, are defined by enclosing text in double quotes. Anything that we define in these double quotes is a string or and is an object of the string class, even if you don't have a name for it. You don't have to be constructed, can be assigned to string variables as we have been doing, and can be passed to methods and constructors as parameters, and we have been assigning string literals as values to our maybe name variable or any other variable that can store a string, and have methods you can call. For example, you have a string that is initialized to name, but it's a literal string. What we can do is we can assign it to a variable if we may want to, or we can directly call the string methods on this literal string. So for example, if you want to store the first character of this string in a variable of a character class, then what you can do is, for example, this Robert dot character at 0, at position 0, it will be stored in this class. So we can directly call the methods on these literal strings, and we can do the same with the variable as well. So these two will return the same result to us. Immutability. Strings are immutable. Once created, a string cannot be changed. None of its methods changes the string. And we will see this in our examples as well, that we cannot change the string once it has been created. Such objects are called immutable. Immutable objects are convenient because several references can point to the same object safely. There is no danger of changing an object through one reference without the others being aware of the change. So immutability has its own advantages. The the value in the objects remains the same, no matter where we reference it from, or if we create several references to the same object, the object will remain the same. So an advantage can be it uses less memory. For example, we have a string word 1 is equal to Java, and when we have a string word 2 is equal to word 1, now both of word 1 and word 2 will point to the same object, that is the string Java. It does not create a new word 2 string with a new value, it will point to the same value. And for in another example, if we want to create a new object, let's say, that will store the same Java string, for example, into different values. So you can say that this might be using more memory, but this might have some uses as well. So you need to create a new string and throw away all the old one even for small changes. So what if we needed to make even a small change in our string, since we this will remain the same, it will not change. So if you want to change it to an uppercase, for example, we want to convert the first letter of this string to an uppercase. So what we can do is we will need to read that character, word dot character at position 0, and we convert it to uppercase. This is a method that we can call on from the character class. So the character at position 0 will be converted to the uppercase and will be assigned to this character variable. And now we assign the value. For example, word.substring will read all of the characters starting from position 1. So this is the index position 1 in our string. It will all read all of these values up to the end and concatenate the new character that we have converted the first character into capital and store it in a new object, the word object. And for the new string, it has created a new memory location and it has discarded the old one. The idea is that we were not able to change this one and store it at the same location. It had to create a new memory location for this new string. We will look at these methods that we have used over here in a bit of detail in our discussion in this lecture. Empty strings. An empty string has no characters. Its length is 0. For example, we can initialize an empty string like this or like this using the constructor. These are examples of empty string, not the same as uninitialized string. We understand that the string value has null. No argument constructor creates an empty string, but it is rarely used. We have been using strings, but we do not use the objects of the string using this method. A more common approach is to reassign the variable object to an empty literal string. So we can assign any value to this literal to this variable. So often done to reinitialize a variable used to store input. Copy constructors. Copy constructor creates a copy of an existing string, or it is also rarely used. It is not the same as an assignment. So for example, we have this string that we initialize using the constructor of the string class to a word. Then if you want to, let's say, initialize another string to the same word, it will copy the constructor into this new object. So copy constructor each variable points to a different copy of the string. In this case, as we can see, assignment, both variables point to the same string, so the assignment is different than the copy constructor. In this case, we are assigning to the same string if you use it like this, but if you use the copy constructor and we do not usually use this method, we would prefer to use this method. In this case, it is pointing to two different copies of the string, so we can say that these are two different strings. Most other constructors take an array as a parameter to create a string. For example, you can initialize a string like this. You can have an array of characters, and then you can pass that array to the constructor of the string class, and it will initialize the string to this new variable. To look at the example of how we can use the string constructors, the code for this will be provided to you in the strings package. So we have these different constructors that we can use to initialize our string, or we use our string constructors in different ways. The first one, it does not use any string constructor, so we can initialize the string s0 to null, and we can see that we have an array of characters and then we have a string s. String s1 uses the constructor. String s2, as we can see over here, uses the constructor to initialize the string to s or string s. S3 initializes the string to this character array, and s4 initializes the string to a part of this character array. So these are the different ways where we can use the string constructor to initialize our strings. This one will initialize the string to from position 4 up to position 5, and we can see our strings. Now if we try to print this, we can see that if we look over here and compare it to our initializations, s0 is equal to null because we initialized it to null. S1 is an empty string. S2 is equal to hello because we initialized it to the string s. S3 is equal to birthday because it was initialized to this character array, and we passed that character array to the string constructor, and thus the string was initialized to these characters. And s4 is equal to h and day, so it will start from position 4 and read up to 5 characters in the characters array. So if we look at this, 0 1 2 3 4, it will start from 4 and read the next 5 character 1 2 3 4 5. You need to remember that this empty or space is also a character and it has been read, as we can see. So it will start from position 4 and read the next 5 characters into our string s4. To look at some other methods associated with the strings, we have the length method and we have the characterate method. So the length method returns the number of characters in the string, and the charate method will return the character at the position that we have passed it to. Returns the character at position I. Character positions in strings are numbered starting from 0, as we understand, just like arrays. So the length of this string will be 7, and the character at position 2 in this string is n, as we count 0 1 2. We have method starts with and ends with. So the boolean method starts with, takes one argument. It tests if the string starts with the prefix string. So it will test if our string starts with the prefix or the string that has been passed to it, or it will test if the string ends with a particular string that has been passed to it as an argument. Test if the string ends with the suffix strings. Method substring returns a new string by copying characters from an existing string. String subs, for example, if we want to copy part of the string, and we can do this by using the substring method, returns a substring of characters and positions from position I to position k minus 1. So if we have this string and we want to return the values from, let's say this is our position I and this is our position k, so we will read from 0 1 2 3 4. So the k should be 5 because it will return from a position 1 lesser than k, and the I should be the starting point from where we want to return or copy the characters from this string. If we do not provide the second argument, then it will return all of the characters starting with the character I at position I. Returns the substring from the ith character to the end. So if we pass an I, only it will start with the I and return all of the characters to the end of the string. So if we look at this example, television substring from position 2 to 5 should return, as I saw, LEV, so 0 2 3 4. So the string that or the characters that it will return is or should be 1 less than up to the position 1 less than 5. So it will return LEV. Immutable should return 0 1 starting from position 2 up to the end of the string, and if we do not have the index position in the string that we want to return, we'll see that it will return an empty string. To look at some examples of how this can be used, we can see that we have a string s1 over here in this example, and we have an array of size 5. So if you print s1 first and then you perform some operations, if you want to know the length of the string, as we can see, you can use the s1.length method. This is the name of our string, or the variable to which we have initialized our string. So it should return the number of characters in this string. If you want to return the character at position 5 in this string, for that we can use the character at method or the char@, method, and you can play around with the code and do, for example, if you want to print the same string in reverse, what you can do is you can go through the length of the string and you can count in the reverse direction, and then you can print the characters one by one, and you will get the same string in reverse direction. You can also get the characters from the string into an array, and this method get characters or get chars method will copy the first 5 characters into our character array, and then you can print the character array and see if this function or this operation is working fine. To look at the output, first we want to get our string, then we want to get the length of our string, the character at position 5 in the string to get the string in the reverse directions, and then copy the first 5 characters of the string into an array of characters and then print that array. So this is what let's look at the output of this code. So we have the string. The length of the string is 11, so you can count the characters in the string and see if you have 11 characters over there. So 0 1 2 3 4 5 6, those you will also count the space, 7 8 9 10 11. So we have 11 characters in this string, and the character at position 4 over here is 0 1 2 3 4. It is O, so it has been returned to us. And then the string has been printed in reverse using this code. And finally we have the first 5 characters of our string copied into this character array, and then we were able to print that array using the enhanced for loop. We can also look at the example of starts with and ends with methods that we saw in our slides. So for example, we have an array of strings, let's say, and we want to print the strings that start with st, or it can be any character or set of characters that if you want to get from a given text. So what we can do is we go through the array and we check, if you remember, this was a boolean method. So if we check that if the method, or if a particular string is starting with st, print that string. And similarly we can also use the ends with a method. This is another example of using the starts with method. You can also choose the position from where you want to start in the string. So you want to start from the position 2 in the string, this will ignore the first 2 characters and start at position 2. So 0 1 will be ignored, and it will check if we have this string art starting at position 2. If we look at this, this should return this string and this string. And finally you can print all the strings that end with, for example, any particular character or set of characters. So if you want to check if any of the strings are ending with these characters or this string, then you can print those strings from this array. If you look at the example, what is expected is it will go through this array, it will print the strings that start with st. In the first case, it will print the strings that start with art starting at position 2, and it should print the strings that end with aed. If you look at the output, started starts with st, starting starts with st, so it has picked the strings that start with st from our array. Similarly, started starts with art at position 2, as we saw in this code. What we wanted to check, that it should check at position 2 and see if our string starts with this particular substring. Then started and starting have been returned again. And finally we want to see if any of the strings are ending with particular set of characters, which is true in this case. So started and ended are ending with these two characters or ed substring. Similarly, if you want to look at the substring method, the substring method will return part of the string. So we have the string letters, let's say, and it has a bunch of letters. If you want to return the string starting with from position 5, this is what we will need to use. It will return the string starting with position 20 up to the end of the string. So if you are passing one argument, as we saw in our slide as well, if you are passing one argument, that argument will be used as the starting point of the string up to the end of the given string. So it will go up to the end of the string started starting at position 20. And if you pass two arguments, the first one will be taken as the starting point and the second one will be taken as the ending point. But we need to remember that the 3 will be included in the counting but 6 will not be included. So it will return characters from the string letters starting at 3 and ending at 5 up to position 5. If you look at this, so substring from index 20 to the end is this is should be our position 20 then, and substring from index 3 up to but not including 6 is DEF. So if you count 0, 1, 2, we are starting at 3, 4, 5. So these three characters will be returned in this substring. So as we saw that substring integer begin index returns a new string that is a substring of this string beginning with the character at the specified index and extending to the end of this string. So this will be the starting position of our substring up to the end of the string. And if you pass two arguments, this will return a new string that is a substring of this string beginning at the specified begin index, that is this point, and extend it to the character at index and index minus 1. So it will return the characters between starting with the begin index and ending with 1 minus to the position up to the position 1 minus the end index position. Thus the length of the substring is end index minus begin index. So if you are asked to measure the length of a substring, you can see that, for example, our end index was 6 and our starting index was 3, and the string that was returned to us was DEF in our example. And so we can see that the length of the string is 6 minus 3, that is 3. We can also concatenate our strings. For example, we have two strings, string word1 is equal to RE, string word2 is equal to think. Then we can have and we have string word3 is equal to ing. If you want to combine these three strings, and maybe if you want to combine a string with a number, so the result can be string result is equal to word1 word2 should return rethink. It will concatenate word1 and word2 and return rethink, a combined version of these two strings. Similarly, string one word and word2 can be concatenated using the concate method. This should also return rethink. So we can concatenate the strings by using the plus symbol or using the concate method, or we can add a string to another string using the increment operator, the equal to plus equal to operator. As we can see over here, the string word3 will be concatenated to the result of the word1 plus word2, and that will result in this new string rethinking. Also, if you want to convert a num to a string, you can assign it to a string and concatenates it to. So this will concatenate and add this number, and this will convert this number to string and concatenate it to the string rethinking. If you look at this example of how we can concatenate two strings, this is simply an addition of these two strings. You can also use the plus symbol. So we have a string s1 that is equal to happy with a space, and we have a string s2 that is equal to birthday, And what we are doing is first we are printing these two strings, and then we are concatenating string s2 to string s1. What we need to remember is that strings are immutable. So if you print s1, you can guess what should the original s1 be, and we will see that in a while. We have concatenated s2 and s1, and if you print s2 separately, s1 separately, as we can see over here, s1 is happy, s2 is birthday. Result of concatenation s1 concat s2 is happy birthday, but s1 has not been changed. S1 remains the same because we said that strings are immutable, they do not change. If you want to have a combined version of this string, like for example if you want to have a happy birthday, you will need to save that in a new string object.